is beautiful, there's so much hope. Even in the darkest of times, there's radiating light. Live each moment fully and completely, and dance to the music of the lush green earth.
Oh yeah. Hey guys, how are we all doing? So welcome to my second video of the night, and this video is going to be on autism and diet. Now, there's a trigger warning for this one. I will be talking about some comorbidities. So those are things that occur alongside autism as well. So we'll be delving a little bit into eating disorders. If that's not your cup of tea, or if it will trigger you, that's absolutely fine. Just click off. Click off now and go and watch some cat videos or something to just chill, because this is not the video for you. Now, let's begin. So the first thing that sprung to mind when I was coming up with this topic was overeating and undereating. It's not uncommon from what I have experienced myself and what I've seen. It's not uncommon for people with autism to either overeat or undereat. The undereating one seems to be particularly common, but I myself am an autistic female and I overeat. I definitely overeat. So yeah, those two things seem to occur quite often within the realm of autism and diet. It's not out with the realms of possibility at all to suggest that autistic eating is a thing. For me, food is a release. It is something that helps me evade sensations that I don't like the sensation of hunger. I don't like hunger. It's not a nice feeling in the body. So eating, and eating perhaps excessively, avoids that sensation. So yeah, autistic eating, I think that might be a thing. Not that it's diagnosable, but it's definitely something that I've seen. So only eating certain foods is another thing that I have definitely heard about with regards to autism. And I have gone through periods of doing this myself. So what do I mean by only eating certain foods? Well, what I mean is restricted diets. Diets that involve veganism, vegetarianism, only eating white bread, for example, only eating sandwiches, only eating brown bread, only eating grains, only eating a specific thing is another thing that I have definitely seen and experienced myself. I went through a period of being vegetarian, I went through a period of being vegan, and I would restrict what was going into me. Now obviously there's the whole moral argument to being vegan or vegetarian, which we're not going to get into here. We're talking purely autism here. So yeah, I was restricted in what I was eating, but I was also restricted in ways that you wouldn't see in the mainstream. Like, I went through a period of only eating grains. I went through a period of only eating plain pasta, or rice, basmati rice, with no flavour. Things like that. So there are some foods that make me feel safe, and there are some foods that make me feel soothed. And these foods are kind of like a stim for me. They're kind of like an edible stim. So I eat them and I feel this release. And unfortunately, not all of these foods are particularly healthy. Things like chocolate and sweeties and cakes and crisps, none of those are particularly nutritious. So, yeah, these make me feel soothed. Definitely. I think I have an undiagnosed eating disorder. And I think it's binge eating disorder. It's not uncommon for my binges to be expansive and for me to eat like 10 bars of chocolate, multiple boxes of chocolates. Yeah, it's not uncommon. Now, I'm really trying to stop for the sake of my health. And I know that it upsets my family a little bit that, I do this because they worry about me. So that's a good incentive to stop. But yeah, I definitely see a correlation between eating disorders and autism. And I've seen a lot of people online that seem to have autism and eating disorders. So it's not out with the realms of possibility that that's what I've got, an eating disorder. Because I think 10 bars of chocolate in one sitting is a bit excessive. Yeah, definitely. Now, this next one's an interesting one. Food as an obsession. There's something you need to understand about autism, and that is that autistic people often get obsessions. Now, when you become obsessed with something like food, it's a bit difficult because food is something you need to have to live. It's a necessity. But when it becomes an obsession and starts to take over your life, everything becomes about meals, when you're next eating, having to plan your day around food, and knowing that you're going to have to take 2 sandwiches rather than one because you're ravenously hungry all the time. And a lot of that is just suggestion. A lot of it is the suggestion spawned from obsession and repeated exposure to something like food. So, yeah, that's something to really be aware of in autism, is that food can become an obsession. Anything can become an obsession. And I've had it where I have been totally obsessed with food. It got to the point that it didn't really even matter what the food was, as long as I was eating. There's a level deeper than obsession, though, and that's the level of special interest. Now, if food becomes a special interest in a negative way, so if it becomes something that is channeled perhaps in an unhealthy way, then yeah, that could pose an obesity risk. Because special interests, if your special interest is eating, well, autistic people, including myself, do a lot of their special interest. So if you're eating and eating and eating and eating and eating, obviously you can become fat. And you only have to look at me. Yes, I am a fat woman. I'm fat. And I admit it. So, yep, I only have myself to blame for the way I look. I don't have some syndrome or other that makes me gain weight. I overeat, and that's it. I do think my medications play a role in it a little bit because they give me the munchies, but a lot of it is special interest stuff and posing a risk to my health. So if you can channel food as an obsession or a special interest into something productive like cooking and portion control, then that is something a little bit healthier. But I'm talking about special interests that veer on a health hazard with this one. So I hope you enjoyed that video, and that's everything for now. But I'll be back soon with the next one. Okay, bye.
Live each moment fully and completely, and dance to the music of the lush green earth.
Oh, yeah.